Have you ever loved the show so much that you could almost quote every line?
Is that it? Where?
Oh, no, that's not it.
Is that it?
No,
Is that it? Oh, yeah, is that it? Or is it that? Oh, is that it? Is that it?
That's me with Archer. I've probably seen the first 10 seasons more times than I would like to admit publicly. It has this mix of charm and madness that felt oddly familiar, use my kind of humor. And okay, I might have stolen a few jokes for real life conversation, but let's call that creative borrowing.
Yeah, do you know where he is?
Yes, I'm just screaming his name down the hall to celebrate that fact.
But after season 10, something broke. When season 11 came out, I was pumped. Finally, more Archer. But a few episodes in, it felt off. Everything looked familiar, sounded familiar, but it didn't feel familiar. All the elements and characters were there, but something was missing completely. It wasn't that the jokes got worse, it was like the show itself has changed the way it looked at Archer. He used to be a disaster, sure, but a competent disaster. Someone who'd get drunk, insult everybody in the room, and somehow still save the day in the most spectacular way possible. That was part of a charm. He was reckless, but he always came out on top because he was actually good at what he did.
And I'm the best in the world at this, so shut up and follow my lead. Hey, guys.
And then it hit me. The show hasn't lost its tone, it's lost its truth. It stopped trusting its own character. They turned into mouthpieces instead of people. And that hurt more than I expected because Archer wasn't just a cartoon for me. It was my creative escape. So when the show started feeling off, it wasn't just disappointing. It felt heartbreaking. Like something I used to understand completely has evolved into a language I couldn't speak anymore. And now, I want to take you on the same journey with me to see where Archer lost his soul.
Now tell me exactly what happened.
To understand what changed, I had to remind myself why it worked so well in the first place. Because Archer wasn't just funny, it was smartly funny.
Archer, oh, what the hell? Where the are you going?
I gotta get my turtleneck.
What the-
I'm not defusing a bomb in this.
No running.
Shut up.
It was written like someone who knew exactly how far they could push every joke before it collapsed. The chaos had structure. Archer was, by every possible definition, a horrible human being.
Barry, wait! Slow down!
Why?
So I can go past you.
Has anyone ever told you you are profoundly self-centered?
Narcissistic, arrogant, often drunk before breakfast, but the writing never asked us to forgive him. It just showed us who he was and let the comedy came from his contradiction. He was the kind of guy who would insult you, save your life, and then make fun of you for almost dying, all in one scene. And somehow you still like him because the show gave him integrity, not moral integrity, but narrative integrity. He was a disaster, but a consistent one.
Anna! I'm not gonna blow the...
Every win, every screw up, every insult had kind of a strange logic to it. You could trust that Archer would always be Archer, and the people around him balanced him perfectly. Lana's frustration, Mallory's control issues, Cyril's insecurities, it all clicked like a dysfunctional orchestra. You could feel a pulse in every dynamic, something always building towards that satisfying release. When you go back and watch those early seasons, you can tell it was written by someone who knew these characters like real people. Every line sounds like it was written by someone who had spent years in that world, watching them evolve, knowing exactly how far they could go before the absurdity broke. And that's the part that made the show feel alive. Even when Archer was at his absolute worst, the writing respected him enough to make his chaos meaningful. When I started digging into what actually changed after season 10, the answer turned out to be pretty simple and kind of sad. The main writer, Adam Rees, started stepping away from the show. He said he didn't want to keep doing the show until he hated it. And honestly, I get that. I had projects like that where you keep pushing even after the spark's gone. And you can feel when the work stops loving you back. If you've watched Archer long enough, you can feel Reed's fingerprints all over those first 10 seasons. He didn't just create the characters, he was the pulse behind every scene. He wrote or co-wrote almost every episode. Reed's writing had this rare mix of chaos and control. The jokes could be absurd, but they always hit with precision. Even when everything on screen was collapsing, plane crashing, and bullets flying, people screaming, the dialogue felt like a perfectly timed orchestra. That's what gave the show its magic. It was written by someone who completely understood the madness he'd created. But around season 10, the 1999 arc, Reed started pulling back. New writers came in and you could immediately feel the shift. The humor was still clever, but it lost its invisible structure, that confidence that made Archer feel like chaos with purpose. It started to sound like someone doing an impression of Archer instead of Archer itself. And just to be clear, that's not criticism on a new team. It's just what happens when the voice that built the world isn't there to guide it anymore. It turned into something else, but that new version of the show unfortunately doesn't click with me anymore.
Wallowing in a miasma of microwave fish curry and its subsequent farts.
Sometimes you buy too much salmon.
What, to attract bears? Did you get that?
You can keep the same characters, the same jokes, even the same animation style, but the soul starts to drift. It's like the band's still on stage, but the lead singer's gone, and no one wants to admit the difference. What a writer like Reed leaves is not just a staffing change, it's a philosophical one. Because Archer wasn't written like a sitcom, it was written like a conversation between the writer and his creation. And once that voice faded, the show started losing that conversation. And that's when everything began to unravel. When I look back at those early seasons now, I don't just miss the jokes, I miss the way the show felt. It had this confidence, this mood that made even the chaos feel alive. You could tell that the writer believed in these characters even when they were complete disasters. The show still looked the same, it sounded the same, but it no longer carried the same heartbeat. And maybe that's what happens when a story outlives the person who gave it a soul. I don't blame Adam Reeve for stepping away. If anything, I completely get it. As a creator, there's nothing worse than reaching the point where the thing you love starts to exhaust you. When that spark fades, it shows up in the work no matter how hard you try to hide it. That's something I've learned in my journey as creator. People can feel the passion and more vividly the lack of passion in a project, even if they can't quite explain it. For me, Archer was more than just background noise. He was clever, fearless, and somehow deeply human. The kind of a show that could make you laugh, cringe, and nod in recognition all at once. So watching you lose that spark felt strange. Like reconnecting with someone you used to know inside out, but realizing the conversation just doesn't click anymore. I said it before, but I'm not the one to advocate for a show's cancellation. That being said, Archer was cancelled 2 years ago after they wrapped up in season 14. The reason wasn't officially stated, but many people felt the decline of a show, which will eventually show in the ratings. When a story that once shaped your sense of humor and creativity starts to stumble, you can't help but wonder if it says something about how art evolves, or how we do. How much of what we love is tied to the people who made it, and what happens when they're no longer a part of it? So no, this isn't me saying Archer should have ended at season 10. It's just me accepting that, in his own way, maybe he already did. That's it, folks. That's my take on what happened to Archer. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspective. I've been making videos for over 8 years now and recently wrapped up the project about scuba diving, something completely different but still rooted in storytelling. Regardless of what type of venture I find myself in, I try to craft stories that keep people engaged and guessing where the plot will go next. The same quality that once made shows like The Simpsons so captivating. It's not always the most lucrative approach in an era of quick clips and instant gratification, but for me, staying true to that kind of storytelling matters more. And honestly, I think there is still an audience out there that values depth over dopamine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.